There are 110 controls in NIST 800-171. If you've looked at that list, you know that it can feel overwhelming. Where do you even start? How do you know where the gaps are? Here's what I can tell you after sitting in on a lot of assessments. It is the same controls that keep popping up as failures or not mets. The same ones over and over again across different industries, different company sizes, and different IT setups. And honestly, they're not the hard ones, right? They're not the advanced technical controls that require specialized expertise or MSP setup. They're the ones that your team assumed someone else had already taken care of. Hey everyone, Ben Huey here with Secure-Centric. And today I'm going to walk you through 10 controls that trip most companies up often, right? More importantly, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do about each one of those. So let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we can go ahead and jump right in. Because if you are working through your CMMC self-assessment, these are the controls that you're going to want to review. And if you're not familiar with the numbering system, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain each one in plain English. So let's get into it. All right, the first set of controls, 3.3.1, 3.3.2, around audit logging. Why does this one fail consistently? So companies believe that having logging turned on is the same thing as having a logging or an audit log program, right? And it isn't. So logging turned on means data is being captured, but an audit log program means that someone's actually reviewing it, retaining it properly, and protecting it from tampering. That's what the control says, right? So how do we address this? Make sure that logs are being retained for at least 90 days with longer retention available. Configure alerts for key events like failed logins, privilege escalation, or account changes, and then assign someone ownership for log review. And this doesn't have to be daily, but it does need to happen, right? The evidence will ask for the ability to review, right? Not just the evidence that logging exists somewhere. Control 3.5.3 for multi-factor authentication. MFA failures are still incredibly common. And the reason is that it's almost always deployed inconsistently, right? It's not that it's not there, it's just inconsistent. You have MFA on the VPN, but maybe not on your email for remote access, but maybe privileged accounts are missing it internally, right? This doubles down for service accounts, and hopefully you don't have shared accounts, but those may be in a bypass mode, right? And that's going to be a not met. MFA needs to be enabled on every account that accesses CUI, period. That's email, your file shares, remote access, the administrative accounts, right? So audit those accounts, find the gaps, and pay particular attention to those service accounts as mentioned, because that is what the control needs to meet, okay? Control 3.4.2 around security configuration baselines. Why do I see this one failing often? You need documented security baselines for all your systems. Essentially, the secure settings standards that every machine in your environment should meet. We used to call this a golden image, right? Most companies either have no baselines or they have them documented from 5 years ago, but they're not being regularly checked or updated to meet that baseline. So what do we do about that? Use CIS benchmarks, right? They're a great starting point. They're free. They're well respected. Everybody knows them. Document it, deploy it, and then use your EDR tool or a vuln scanner to verify that the systems are configured correctly in meeting that baseline, right? What I would be looking for is documentation and evidence that it's being enforced, not simply that you have marked that down. Control 3.13.1, 3.13.2, system and communications protection. This is really boundary defense, right? Companies have a firewall and they think that means they have boundary protection, right? But boundary protection under 800.171 is more nuanced. It includes network segmentation, particularly the separation of your CUI environment from the rest of your network, right? It includes monitoring what crosses that boundary. And it also includes protecting CUI at external interfaces, right? So this isn't just the internal portion. You got to look at it holistically. So if you built an enclave, as we discussed in episode 9, segmentation is already helping serve this control or meet it. If you haven't, what you need to do is map your network and identify where CUI crosses system boundaries, right? What is your big red line? And each point that it does cross needs to be controlled and monitored, because unmanaged, undocumented network paths are going to be a red flag, and it's going to be a not met. 3.14.1, 3.14.3 around system information integrity. This is really all about patching. And patch management, it feels so basic, but the failure comes really in two forms, right? That systems genuinely aren't being patched. Old servers, forgotten workstations, OT or operational technology that people are scared to touch. Or secondly, there's no documented process and no evidence, right? It feels like I'm on repeat here. But if you're not doing patching, there are no patch reports, no scan results, no records, it's going to be a not met, right? So how do we address this? Document a patch management process and evidence of the execution, right? We're doing critical patches within 14 days. That's a standard. High severity within 30 days. You're running vol scans on a regular basis, and you keep the reports, right? So this is what we're going to look for, and this is what we're going to ask, right? Not are you patching, but show me evidence that this is happening on a regular basis, and here's that patch history. So 3.6.1, 3.6.2 around incident response. Most companies have an incident response plan or an IRP, right? Very few have actually tested it, is what I found. And once you're not testing, then there's no evidence that's going to satisfy this requirement, right? That you've tested the plan. It's a clear capability to report incidents, especially those involving CUI, to the government within the required time frame, which today is at 72 hours, I believe. So how do we address this? Your IR plan needs to be specific and not generic, right? It needs to have roles defined, responsibilities, response timelines, and that you understand the reporting requirements, right? And it needs to be tested. Tabletop exercises work here. Document the tests, document the lessons learned, and that is your evidence. There are free tabletops that are out there from the DOW that you can leverage. 3.12.1, 3.12.3 around security assessments. And this control requires you to periodically assess your own security controls, right? Develop and implement your plans of actions for deficiency and monitor controls on an ongoing basis. The failure here is that companies treat this as a one-time project rather than an ongoing program. You do your self-assessment, you mark it as a pass, and then nothing changes until that next assessment, which is almost never the case for static environments, right? So build a continuous monitoring program. This doesn't have to be elaborate, right? Quarterly internal review against your control set, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, document the findings, update your POAM. This tracks open items and your remediation progress, right? So it is very easy to evidence that you're running a security program, not just a certification project. 3.1.1, 3.1.2 around access control, specifically least privilege. Why do I see this one failing? Simple, right? Users have more access than they need, and that's almost universal. It happens because access gets granted when they're hired or they join a project. They change roles, right? And that access never gets reviewed or removed when that project ends, that person moves, or the role is no longer there, right? And over time, you develop a workforce where most people have access to way more than they need, right? So how do we address it? Conduct an access review, right? For every system that touches CUI specifically, look at who has access and ask whether they still need it for their current role, right? Remove access that isn't justified. Follow that process, document it. Annual is fine, right? This is a process. Look at your role-based access where permissions are tied to job functions rather than individuals. That would make it so much easier to manage, especially at scale. If you're 5 people versus 10,000, it can feel overwhelming. Control 3.13.8 around encryption. CUI must be encrypted when transmitted across networks. Period, right? The failure here is almost always incomplete coverage. So the encryption is on the VPN, but maybe not internal transfers, right? Or your email encryption is there, but not when syncing to OneDrive or your file share, right? Certain legacy applications still transmit in clear text, right? So how do we address this? Again, map your CUI data flows, right? Where does it travel? And understand over what protocols, right? Any transmission of CUI needs to be encrypted. Identify the legacy gaps and either remediate them or document compensating control while remediation is in progress, right? This, again, is evidence that shows you're maturing your program. Control 3.2.1, 3.2.3, awareness and training. Again, this one feels so simple, but I see it often, right? Training documentation. Companies do training, but they can't prove it, right? It's on one-time training during onboarding, and then it's not, occurring regularly or on an annual basis, right? 800-171 requires that training happens on an annual basis. Specific to CUI if you can, and certainly around insider threats. So how do we address this? You don't need a full LMS if you don't have one, but the DOW does offer free training around these topics specifically. Just do them annually, right? Ensure they're specific to the role. If you get a certificate or a screenshot, retain those records. For privileged users and system owners especially, document additional training that addresses the risk of elevated access. And that's how you're going to get through that one in particular. So there you have it, right? We just walked through 10 controls, all of them fixable, none of them requiring more technology or a massive budget, right? But you have to have ownership. You have to have evidence, right? And this common pattern here is that the companies that I walk into, they don't have bad security, right? They just don't have someone that's connecting the security work they're already doing to the evidence requirements of the controls. So here's a list that you can walk through, right? And if you tick off 8 or 9 of these, you're probably in a great position. If 3 or more of these give you pause or a moment of, do we actually have that? Then there's your action list, right? Start there, fix those, document everything, right? Tie it back to the control, and you're going to be in great shape. So that's it for this one. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you in the next episode.